Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. Another episode of Be You podcast, part of Supermom's Magic Circle. And today we have a special guest, Julie. You will love from her. She will teach us so much about parenting and education in general. So just stay tuned. Before we go any further, I still have two more slots available for business clarity coaching. If you feel you're ready and you do really want to take your business to the next level, just send me a fire and then I know that we can do that together. Now, let's go back to my super special guest, Julie. Hello, Julie, and welcome.
Hi, thank you, Roxandra.
You're more than welcome. I'm just so excited. I love your work. I love what you do. You do a little bit of combination with astrology as well, so human design and kids education. So I'm just so excited to learn more about you and what you do.
Happy to be here. Yeah, excited as well.
That's great. So let's start from the beginning, Julie. Tell us a bit about you and your business.
Mm. Well, I have had an interesting career journey that things have just evolved, have gone from very different things and then have honed in more specifically on very young children and supporting the parents of very young children. Um, so it started with my son, and my son turned 23 yesterday. So
Oh, happy
um,
birthday.
thank you. And in terms of my own preparation for parenthood, that I thought I did a really good job with at the time, like beforehand, I thought I was prepared. And, we can't really prepare beforehand fully. But in the process of parenting him and finding environments for him, that's how I had gotten introduced to Waldorf education and finding a place for him that suited his needs, and then ended up working in a Waldorf like toddler setting, and then had a childcare of my own that was Waldorf inspired. And Waldorf education, or it's also called Steiner education in other places, based on Rudolf Steiner and from Austria. And his kind of first school was the was a school in the Waldorf Astoria cigarette factory in Stuttgart, Germany in 1919. So that's where the Waldorf part comes from. Um,
Right.
but it was the desire to have to build a school for a new kind of human being. So as they were coming out of World War One, it was Waldorf education was really created for healing, because that was just so horrific in to humanity. Um, to create just a kind of integrated, well-rounded human, um,
Mhm.
of thinking, feeling, and willing, and just sort of this, it's physical, emotional, and spiritual, though it's not a religious education. So that being said, my son found that for my son when he was 7 years old, and had and then I had a Waldorf inspired childcare for infants and toddlers. And then through that journey of those things, I also discovered human design, because I'd been into astrology for a long time. And, when I was pregnant with him, I was wondering what his astrological sign would be. Um, and they had told me one due date, and I was like, oh, that'd make him an Aries, and I'm a Cancer, sun and rising. And so I was like, oh, that might be a difficult, a difficult thing. But based on what I knew of my own self and his conception, he was like, well, maybe hopefully he'll come later. And he's like, just barely a Taurus. And anyway, but the human design to me is like, I love astrology, but human design clicked in a way for my brain that I could not get, that I could not wrap my head around in astrology with angles and math. And while the human design chart looks kind of crazy on first glance, it really clicked for me. And by understanding more of who I am and how my son kind of is, just kind of naturally comes into being, that was very different from me, and it was hard for me to understand. Um, and putting those things together, just really up-leveled my parenting and just change it's like changed my my worldview and how I support, I
Of
feel like my
course.
childcare was kind of like a do-over in a way, like things
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had known when he was, under age 7, and because of how those formative years are, um, and the importance of the work on the self of the adult, because so much of just parenting is
Yeah.
just, oh, who's my child? What do I do for my child? But really, like Waldorf education is about the inner work of the teacher is important, because that sets the tone for all that is brought to the children in the educational philosophy. And then with ourselves as parents, that sort of inner striving and inner work, and then an understanding of who we are
That's amazing, Julie. Thank you
is
so
like an
much for sharing.
embodiment for our children.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned so many things that I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me more, tell me more. So first thing, I feel like we don't really know that much about human design. And
Mhm,
like you mentioned early on, yes, the chart can be scary. However, we as parents, we do want to understand our children. I've been a
mhm.
teacher as well, so I
Right.
totally understand we all have our unique gifts, we have our unique skills, and it's really good
Mhm,
to encourage the child to develop in his or her own way, but to make the most of this life, right? So by knowing their human design, by knowing their essence in a way. This is kind of what you get from the chart, right? You kind
mhm,
of you get their purpose, what they're really good at, what comes naturally to them. This is a very good tool for parents or for teachers, for whoever is in their life. I love it. And then the other bit that I loved is I had no idea the term of this education that you just mentioned. I
mhm,
knew about
mhm.
Montessori,
Yeah.
and
Mhm,
I'm like, okay, they can be very independent, they can be really resilient and those things. But what you just mentioned early on, it's about the way they think, the way they feel. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. This is how you raise resilient children and happy children. So
mhm,
tell us more about those toddlers' years and
mhm,
how can we start helping our toddlers to go more and more into finding who they are? Because at that age, they know who they are. They are so pure. How can we step into
mhm,
that?
mhm. Right. Yeah, I worked in Montessori also before I found Waldorf education, and there are some similarities, but yeah, then some just
So tell us about that. So
really.
what's similar and what's really different between those two?
Um, yeah, real quick there. In both Montessori and Waldorf, like the teacher is they both acknowledge that children learn through imitation, and that the teacher is striving to be worthy of that imitation, to be mindful of what they're doing, and that the teacher is uh the guide there, and it's not, and yeah, no, sorry, putting things in order in my mind. And they both value natural materials,
Mm-hmm.
so they're both a beautiful space. There are and I would say some of the key differences are that in Montessori all the activities called the work, like each little work, and it is very individual, and striving for independence, um, and a lot of the work, especially the practical life, which is kind of imitating, like, real life tasks,
Yeah.
and that's an element in Waldorf as well, where we kind of in the early years use the home as like life is the curriculum, to where, yeah, it's all about our daily tasks of eating and sleeping and, preparing food and cleaning up after ourselves, and just learning how to be little people, learning how to be people together. Um, but the Waldorf environment is, I would say it's a bit softer,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, there's almost like a dreamy quality to young children. And so in Waldorf, we kind of seek to protect that period of their dreaminess because they're really coming into their bodies. They're not so much up in their heads. Whereas, a lot of the concrete things in Montessori, while Maria Montessori makes things easy to understand in the concrete way that she presents things, um, there's not the imaginative level that Waldorf has and the artistic inclusive inclusion of artisticness, and there's more like imaginative play, and that
Mm-hmm.
because the children really learn through play. That's how they're digesting the world and understanding what's happening and playing what it means to be a human being right now. So that's
Right.
some of
So
the
it
things that
goes
I
more into the
see
create.
different.
So in that case, am I understanding that right? It goes more into the creativity and really helps them to be creative and
Creative and imaginative because there's more storytelling and
mhm.
lots of singing to where they're and not learning how to read quite so early because that's sort of an abstract thing, but they're getting like pre-literacy in terms of forming inner pictures in their mind of
Mm-hmm.
things and understanding language. There's lots with rhyming things and often learning is paired with movement,
Yeah,
which
fantastic.
brings it into the body
And
as
I
well.
love when you mention about the
Mhm.
dreamy words because we
Mhm.
do want them to still dream as much as they can and have that magic in their word. So how
Mhm.
can we do that, especially
Mhm.
if they are in, let's talk about the first 7 years, right?
Mhm.
Because those are the most crucial ones, let's call it that way, right? So
Mhm.
what can we do to really help them to have the magic in their life, to let them dream, to really understand their feelings and also, go into this spirituality, not necessarily religion, but really feel that they are loved and they feel that they are worthy and, everything else. How can we bring some magic in their words?
Yeah. There are a few, it's kind of basic, but not necessarily um, things that we innately do. I mean, it's kind of outside the mainstream. But even starting before the child is born, is there's an acknowledgement that this is a spiritual soul who's kind of coming into the earth, into the world. Um, and just kind of holding that picture, and that the parent is here to kind of continue the work of whatever your concept of a spiritual world would be, you know, that, and then they were guiding them on their journey, and really kind of protecting their senses. Like Rudolf Steiner talks about that the young child is like an open sense organ. They don't really have the filters that we have as adults to know like what's real or not real, or to know how to protect ourselves from the bombardment of information and sights and sounds that is so much in the world today. Um, so for young children, a lot can be said for really kind of protecting them from a lot of what's on screens. It's hard, but but to encourage freedom of movement and free play, setting up like um, what's called a yes space in your home to where they have an area that is set up for them. Everything in it, in that little area, they can touch and move. And, it's like, oh, no, don't touch that or put that down or get away. So we're not
Hmm.
having to police their behavior and stop their
Yeah, so they can have their
flow
corner.
that they get in, right? And that they have this space that is, if, um, worst case scenario, if you got locked out of the house, you know, and they were and they were in that space, they would be safe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
might get hungry or scared that you're not there, but nothing, but they're in a safe place. And by also allowing the time and the space for movement and for play, um, because play is child directed. I mean, obviously, we want to connect with our children, and children like us to play with them. But if you're always playing with your child, um, because it changes. Their play changes when it's with us or with other adults, as opposed to just play them that they're immersed in themselves or with other children. Um,
I'm
you
glad you
know,
said that. Actually, I just had this conversation with one of my clients yesterday because
oh,
I spoke with her that I have a toddler, right?
huh?
And she has a toddler as well, very similar age, between 2 and 3.
Okay,
So
fun.
I encourage my toddler. I set up things. We play together, like for example, with
Mhm.
Play-Doh. But the
Yeah.
way I do it, I'm taking out the play-dohs. I start playing with him, and then I step away and I let him to play, either by
Mhm.
himself or if he needs me, I'm still around, but I'm not there all the time. I kind of encourage him
Mhm.
to play independently, right? Because
Mhm.
I notice when we play together, he copies everything I do. And I do want to give him that space. Right. My client, this lady I spoke with yesterday, she said that her child cannot play by himself. Like she needs to stay with him all the time. And if she's no longer there, even if she goes like 2 steps away, he will stop playing. And I was like really having this conversation,
Mhm.
but like I really don't know if I'm doing it right or wrong, but I think this works for me. But in the same time, sometimes I really put questions to myself as well because my son prefers to play independently more than playing together with me or with someone else, which I'm not sure. And with her, I was like, well, for me, it was easy to tell her how to do it, like maybe
Right.
step by step, right? But
Uh-huh.
then those questions came in my mind, like, am I doing it wrong? Or it's just the way the personality my son has because he wants to put his shoes on since he was 1.5. He wants to cook by himself. Honestly, he can make an omelette from scratch, literally, and he's two. So he's very independent.
Mhm.
And yeah, what's your perspective on this? What would you say?
Well, certainly children have different temperaments, and so some children will be more naturally independent, and some will be naturally like requiring that connection. But all children crave connection. And I love what you said about how you set things up and you kind of start doing it with him. So there's that moment of, oh, that time we're doing this together. And then he gets into it, and then how you step away. And so, like for uh the other person you spoke with, or someone in that scenario, independent play also is kind of a muscle. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a muscle that has to be practiced. And yeah, that independent time where he's doing something, where they're doing something by themselves might just be a few minutes, but you can kind of nurture those few minutes of where you do something together, and then and you kind of just back away, or you pardon me, even as if she has to be right there, she could still be nearby, like what you said, that you were not too far away, you're available if he needs it, and I would do that in my childcare as well, where I would just kind of be sitting, and I would knit. I mean, so if you know how to knit, or just a little something where you're not like scrolling your phone, because if you're on your phone, they're like, I need that attention, and away from, that nothing gets your child to want you like you being on your phone or
Mm-hmm.
something. But or folding some laundry, or if you can see the kitchen you're nearby, and they can say, they would bring me a little sip or a bite of whatever play food or something, or
Yeah.
they'll engage with you, and then like, oh yeah, look at that, da da da. And but you're not interrupting them, but you're available. And so if there's a child who, is just like, as soon as mama walks away, or whoever, that you just you just step a little further back, or is she saying what she's going to go do? Because a lot of parents will just disappear,
Mm.
so if perhaps that child needs more of a, oh, I need to run to the bathroom and I'll be right back. You know, you can keep
Fantastic one.
playing or something.
Mm.
And and the child might protest, might be upset. Well, I I will be right back, or I can play with you after I'm done with whatever. I have to check on the
Mm.
oven, to
Yes, I
where
love
there's that
that.
boundary of I need to do this, but I see you. I will be right back for you. And it's sort of you can kind of get the feel of what they're able to do and just kind of you can kind of stretch it out or to set something up. But, oh, I see you have that, but I need to,
Mm.
being on a computer is not great, but oh, I need to go make this phone call, or I have to answer this email. And oh, wow, I love seeing what you're doing. How fast, how high can you build that tower? But it's
Yes,
something they're
yeah.
doing themselves, or, oh,
So
does
I
your
can,
baby need to go to sleep? And, to try to get them back in there, but not just to go play. No, but child wants to
yes,
be
yeah,
able to
give
go
them
play.
That's an wow. Okay, you bring up so much, Julie. Like, thank you so much for that. It's a lot. I have so many questions now. So, if we go back to play, because you mentioned early on that they can be a bit sad, upset, or frustrated. So that's another thing we can see when they play by themselves individually. Like, for example, playing with Lego or with cars,
Mhm.
seeing the way they play. This is so many times when we can see what sort of emotions they have. I can see in my toddler sometimes he's just very angry. He cannot express himself yet due to his age,
Mhm.
but I can see the way he's racing with the cars and he's like bombarding them. And I'm like, okay. So then I go to talk with him and I'm trying to see through his play what's happening, why that happens. So, what would you say? What can we do as parents if they get aggressive in their play? What's the best
Mhm.
thing to do?
That's a very great question. If they're, you can allow, I would say try to allow some of that if it is like towards cars, or, because I understand that it's hard to watch, or if they've got like a baby doll and they're like throwing the doll down, some of that can be, if you've reacted, some of that could be to check your reaction, to get that reaction from you. But it's also, like you said, a way of processing what they don't have the words to say. And so, we all have to get our frustration out in some manner. So if it's not hurting, they're not acting out towards another person or a pet or damaging, it's like, oh no, like if they want to throw the wooden blocks across the floor, oh no, no, you want to throw here, there's, or if you want
Throw
to use
this ball.
blocks, you can build exactly, here's the softball, or let's, or, let's make, put a pile of pillows in the floor and let's jump in them, or,
Yeah, in a
wrestle
safe
with the
way.
pillow.
Yes.
And how loud can you, some kind of scream in
Screaming,
a pillow, like
shouting.
how loud, I can't hear you, oh, to just facilitate the expression, but not in a way that is destructive or hurtful to someone, like, oh, I see,
Mhm.
like, no, I won't let you hit me, or I won't let you hit your sister or pull the cat's tail. Um, and,
Yeah.
if it's only aggressive play, then that would cause me to begin to wonder then what is happening in their life right now? Is there some struggle in the family, or have they been
If it's a change, like
often,
in
mhm.
my son's life, he starting playing this way as
Yeah.
soon as the baby sister was born.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I knew that was a life changing for him,
Perfectly normal. Yeah.
having an exactly. So, I was like, okay, but it was a few months. So baby sister is now 7 months. So he's 2.5. So obviously the first few months, it was really deep. He loves her, but
Oh, of course.
he thought the baby's going away. Like he didn't
Okay.
realize he's gonna stay with us. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
much better now. But the first 3 months, oh gosh, it was a challenge. Like the way he,
Well,
yes, but he's
hmm
much better now. He's much better now. But if we go back, let's talk about control because I have
hmm
lots of moms. I work with moms in business, so
hmm
I see this almost every day. Oh, we are so crazy about controlling stuff in our kids' life, in our business, in our own life. And
hmm
once we learn how to take a break and breathe and don't control
hmm
everything anymore, it's so much easier. So when I talk about control, I can see lots of instructions, but not necessary instructions. It's more like do this, do that, put your shoes on, make your bed, and I see I know it's not right because we only give them instructions like in a way of they have to do it. They don't have options not to do it.
hmm
And it's like orders. I think it's more than
hmm
instructions. What's
Right.
your perspective about this? And how can we stop controlling and
Mhm.
stop judging and doing orders?
Right. I know that no, that doesn't feel good to anyone. Um, and yeah, that's kind of setting yourself up, can be setting yourself up for power struggles and resistance. And,
Hmm.
and like one thing that I did when I had my childcare and because they were with me for 8 hours, some of them were there 8 hours a day. So there, there's lots of transition and lots of things going on and lots of things to do. Um, and it can apply just in the home and parenting is well, one, we would have a song for like if it was time to clean up. I would just kind of start singing the little song and start putting things away, da 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 da, and then they kind of because children will imitate that. And also, as opposed to like, well, often it can be helpful to say, oh, in we got 5 more minutes and then we need to put then it's time for shoes. And then so then when that time comes, all right, oh, time for shoes, but instead of saying, go put your shoes on, you know, often some like movement and just as opposed to just standing there saying it's time to get your shoes, but can take them by the hand or let's get your shoes on. Something like I would often say that it's time for something, do you want to, or not be, let's go together,
Yeah, yeah, like doing as
go
a
together.
team.
Let's make your bed or and granted, there are things they can do themselves. And as they get older, they will, and they want more independence, they'll do it. But to, and to make it a game, I've had to put
Mm-hmm.
snow pants and boots and mittens on, many, many toddlers over the years, and they don't want to do it. And it's like, oh, you know, even just simple, like, oh, where's your fingers? And they're in the sleeve. And oh, the bunny's in it, you get your little foot bunny in the boots. They have to hop in. So to try to make just a funny little game out of it, as opposed to like, get your shoes on. We gotta go, because
I love
in a
it.
rush, a toddler is just gonna make it go slower. Or to be
I
silly, first one boot, then the other, turn it into some little funny song, or I'll do this one. Can you do the other? Children like to be fast and first, you know what I mean? Can you put that one on before I do this one? Or you know what I mean? Just
yeah.
to try to bring a little more fun to it because we have to do these things. We have to pick up our clothes and, maybe it's like basketball. Can you toss your shirt in the basket from here? Or, your socks from
Nice.
over there?
Wow, you gave us so much, Julie. Thank you so much. I love it. I love your approach. I love your enthusiasm. I love all your ideas and how you make it fun because life needs to be fun. And especially if you have kids, let's have more fun together with basic things. My toddler
Right.
went to a stage when he didn't want to have his nappy change, but he wasn't ready for the potty training neither.
Mm,
So we had a baby as well. And me and my husband were like,
yeah.
okay, let's see who's changing first, and we were changing the nappies both. Like it
Oh,
was a game between me and my husband, like a competition, and he was laughing and it was fun. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to do this more often because it's working.
right.
It did work.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And things like diapers, you can, once they're able to stand up, often like just doing a standing up diaper versus having to lay down and put their feet up is good. But yeah, turning everything in a game or a little like belly. And it's also the connection, like I was saying with play and independent play, is that
Mm-hmm.
they want to connect with you. So so all those little care routines, and when with a tiny baby, we're changing diapers all the time or feeding always, but all those are an opportunity to connect. And as they're getting older, they're still getting their hat and their shoes on and grabbing their lunchbox or whatever. That's a moment to connect with each other, even so briefly, because it feels like, yes, there's not enough time, we're running late, da da da. But a little moment of connection or what feels like slowing down to make it work
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
faster than a power struggle and everybody, you know, crying or yelling and
Yeah, I love that. And just
you know,
a bit of
get
eye
over here.
contact or a hug.
That's no
I
fun, and
love that.
everybody's in a bad mood.
Yeah, so not rushing them. That's another
Yeah,
thing. So if you don't rush them, I think that's the magic
yeah,
starts there.
right. I
Eye
mean, that's
contact,
hard,
a
but
hug. It's
it's
hard, but
hard,
if you,
but
it's like a muscle. Again, once you start
Mhm.
doing it and you see the benefits, it makes a huge, huge
Right,
difference.
right. And if you're
Thank,
able to do that sometimes, then on the occasional day we're like, we really have to go. I often would be like, can you do it or shall I do it for you? Oh,
hmm,
it looks like you need my help today. Next time you can try. You know,
I
I'm
love
putting my
that.
shoes on and
Yes.
we have to go. I'm sorry. You know, but next time we'll try again because we get a new chance to start again, like multiple times a day or every day. And
Hmm.
the more fun we have, they have that, and it brings us more joy in the craziness that is parenthood right now. So,
That was phenomenal, Julie. Thank you so much. Please tell us where people can find you. But I will also put all your details so people can be like a click away so they can get in touch with you.
oh, nice. Yes, I am on Instagram with my name. It's just Julie Behnken, JulieBehnken. Facebook at that one has a dot, I think it's Julie dot Behnken. And then my website is and my company is Star Song Postpartum and Beyond. So kind of starting in that early years and into the early months and into the early years. And it's Star Song Postpartum Beyond.com. And on
Fantastic.
there I've got, various things. And a little bit back to the human design, I do have a free parent human design chart that you can get on my website. And it starts with the parent because parenting starts with you. And then you can get your child. And it's just some easy,
Wow.
practical
I will
ways to
definitely
apply that
sign
to
up.
your parenting and for what your child might need
Thank you
as a
so much. So I will
child. Yeah.
definitely encourage everyone to go. I will definitely come and jump on that one. I can't wait to do my parenting charts. Thank you so much, Julie. As you saw, everyone go to Julie. If you connect with her, send her butterfly so she knows you're coming from this community. Go and have a word with her. See how she can help you because as you saw, she's brilliant. She does so much in such a funny and easy way. So thank you, Julie, very much. This was all from Julie today. Please go and get in touch with her. And remember, I still have 2 slots available if you want and you are ready to grow your business. Send me that fire and then we can get that started. This is all from today. Keep on smiling, keep on shining. Thank you. Bye.